In today's exercise, we're going to take a look at utilizing some of the different web font solutions that are available to us, such as Google Fonts as well as Adobe Typekit. So I'm going to go back to my trusty Boats and More website that we've been utilizing this month. And currently, I'm just using whatever default typefaces are established in the Bootstrap CSS file. So just giving it a good refresh here, you can see that I've got quite a bit of sans serif happening here. So I'm going to try and liven this up, maybe get some different style typefaces for some of the different text areas accordingly. The first thing that we need to do is, of course, find out what typeface we want to use and where we want to use it. So I'm going to start with seeing if I can find something for my headline of Boats and More that I have here in my headings section. So I'm going to go to first Google Fonts, and this is just going to be fonts.google.com for that website. And you'll be prompted with a variety of different typefaces here. You can scroll through these and kind of look and choose whichever typefaces that you'd like to use, essentially. So what I'm looking for is something that's going to be maybe a little bit more bold, maybe a little bit stylized, and something that will act as a really nice kind of display typeface there in my website. On the right hand side, you can browse via category or different sorting methods based on when it was added, if it's trending, different languages, and all sorts of options to help you kind of narrow down what it is that you're looking for specifically. So I'm going to actually go ahead and turn off most of these and just leave display checked. That way I can find a really nice display typeface for my website. So there are, of course, a lot of options here. We've narrowed it down to 283 options. So I can go through these and try and find something that really stands out. And again, I'm looking for something that's maybe a little bit more graphic, something that's kind of bold. And I'm kind of liking these serif, maybe some slab serif there for a really nice kind of strong serif on that website. And something that's pretty neat about this is that once I find another good option that I'm considering using, it seems like all the good options are at the top in my opinion. So I'm actually going to go back up there and let's see where that one that I was looking at was. This one looks pretty good too. So you could actually select this and kind of type in the text that you're going to be using. So I have it in here, I've copied that, and I can just kind of see what it looks like in many of these different, here's another one that was pretty cool, many of these different font options. So in this typeface, some of the differences you'll see this ampersand here. You know, sometimes people kind of nerd out about this symbol. Sometimes they can be really nice and elegant. So I'm going to look for one that looks nice, and this one doesn't really quite do it for me. I kind of think I'm leaning towards this. So I'm going to actually utilize this typeface here. I think that looks pretty nice. That should stand out for us. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit this plus button. This will select this font. So you'll notice down towards the bottom it shows that I've selected one family, and I can add as many of these as I'd like. Let's go ahead and just put another one on there for fun. So I have two families selected now, and if I click this, this will open up the panel that tells me how to implement those particular fonts in my website. So it tells me that I have these two typefaces selected. I can remove any of these from here if I'd like. Load time is still good because I don't have a whole lot added. And what I do is I need to embed the font in my website, and then I need to specify where I want to use it. So if I grab this standard embed tag, you'll notice that this is actually a link to a style sheet. So it says to embed your selected fonts into a website, copy this code into the head of your HTML document. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select this and copy that. And then I'm going to go in my code editor and let's add that. I'll add it below my style sheets, and I'll just go ahead and say this is going to be my web font CSS. And I'll just put that in here. Go ahead and put that in there. So you can see that I've made a link to the Google API CSS file to include these two fonts that I will not attempt to pronounce. Those are the font names that we'll be using. So I'm going to actually leave that in here. And then, of course, the next step, as we're directed, is to use the following CSS rule to specify these families. So this is the one that I want to use. I'll use this Bevan here. So I need to kind of specify where I want that text to be. Right now, nothing has changed. I've just refreshed. I've only added the ability to utilize that font within my code. So what I need to do next is go back to my code and designate where I'd like to use this particular font. So what I can do is scroll down to find that heading text, and this is going to be it right here, this H1 tag. So I can go ahead and just add a quick style to this to make sure that it works, and I'll just go ahead and type style font family, and then I'll type Bevan. And this should grab that font family for me, and I'm going to save this. Go back here and refresh, and now you can see that it's picked up that really nice kind of chunky slab serif typeface, and all of its glory is there in the now header section of my website. So that's great. If you wanted to take this a step further and remove the inline style from this, let's go ahead and change that. And I'm going to keep this font family. I want to keep that text, and then I'll just remove this. And this might be a better way to do this. So I'll just go into my style sheets and find my typography styles, and let's just make a class of Bevan. That way, anywhere that I use this class, it will apply the font family of that specific typeface. So this is probably a better way to do it, and then you only have to do this once. And I can also add, let's say the next option will just be sans serif. So that will be kind of a default. If we actually, I don't want that. I want it to be a serif. Okay. So because we do have the slab serif, I'll leave it as a serif as a secondary fallback font. So I've saved that, and then let's go ahead and go back to this, and I'll just add class Bevan. So this should still stay the same if I refresh. Correct. Perfect. Okay, so we've done that. So anywhere that I apply this class, I can then get that same typeface if I wanted to add it, just for example, on maybe this heading down here too, just so we can see how that works. And I'll save. Now this first one has grabbed that style as well. So you could do it inline if you just want to do it on a few instances here and there, but making a class is usually a pretty good way of just speeding up the process. And you can always change different things about the class. You can change the color, the size, anything in there, but at least we know that this class name will apply that font from Google Fonts. So that's the first way in applying the web font from Google Fonts. And the next thing we're going to do is take a look at applying something from Typekit. So now that I've got my main headline styled there, let's go ahead and go into Adobe Typekit and see if we can find some additional fonts, maybe for our body text or some of those subheadings. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some fonts here. And let's take a look. Let's see what we can figure out here. Okay, so I think I'm going to look at sans serifs. That way we can kind of contrast the slab serif that I've just chosen. So you can see that I've narrowed this down quite a bit. These are some of the sans serif options that they're featuring here. And let's go, I think I kind of like the Europa. That one is pretty good. Maybe the Alwyn New. And just kind of browsing through these, you can click on these and it will also show you what's available to you based on your plan, whichever typefaces you might have access to. So this one looks pretty good because it's got a wide variety of different styles, such as the bold, the italic, light, regular, maybe for some body text. So I kind of like this, and let's go ahead and add it to a kit. And I'm going to actually create a kit. Now, when you create a kit, this is going to be a pop-up that lets you configure the fonts, selectors, and other settings that Typekit will apply to your web pages. You're going to give it a name, and then this next part is pretty important. You have to tell it which domains apply. So these fonts will only work on the specific domains or websites that you specify here. So you can always change that, and you can also add multiple. You can add up to 10 domains separated by commas. So I'll just leave it at Matt's site, and then here, because we'll be working locally, I need to change this website to localhost. That way it will show up on our local machine. And then if I had another website, let's say it is actually Matt's designsite.com, we could put that there as well, and then it will work on those two sites. So I'll go ahead and continue, save that. Oh, the name must not be blank. Okay, it wasn't actually there. I will actually type it in. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and do continue. All right, so this is going to be my embed code for this particular type kit. It says that I'm going to copy this and then make sure it goes in the head tag. So this is similar, a little bit different. It's going to be a script instead of CSS, but essentially it will do the same thing, and I'll go ahead and hit continue. So this will now show me whatever is in this type kit, and we'll get back to this in just a second. I just want to go back and load this into my website, and I'll go back to my head section, and let's put this in here. This will be my JavaScript for my Adobe Typekit fonts. So I have that, I'm going to save it. So now I have access to anything that I put in this particular Typekit family in this type kit. So the cool thing about this is that I can go back and add or remove different fonts to this particular type kit, and then if I make any changes, I can publish it, and I don't have to really do anything in my code because I've already linked to this specific type kit. So it's a few more steps in getting it set up, but it could save time in the long run if you're ending up adding or removing multiple different fonts to your particular site at any given time. So I'll go ahead and close this, and let's say, for example, we want to add another font to this. Let's go ahead and add Omnis to this, and then I'll add it to the kit, and I'll add it to the existing Matt's site web page. And I need to go to publish to update these settings. Okay, it looks like it's published. Now I have access to both of these fonts in that one included tag that I've already included into my website. So now what I need to do, just like with Google Fonts, is tell my website where I want to use this typeset or these different web fonts. So on the left-hand side, this shows me a couple different things. I have access to selectors. I can add different selectors for selecting these different font options. Most of these, well, maybe not most of them, a lot of the fonts have different weights and styles that I can choose to include and make those available to me through Typekit. So I can select on or off the ones that I need specifically to increase or decrease the file size. And I'm just going to grab this selector here so that anywhere that I add this class to a particular selector, it will style with that font accordingly. So let me just make sure it works. So I'll just find this first heading here and then add a class to this and make sure that is TK Europa for this font. I'm going to save this, go back to my web page, and then refresh, and that should be this heading here. So it looks like it did update to that font accordingly. So what I want to do here is maybe we're going to use that text for the body copy and change all of the paragraph text to that particular font. So let's go ahead and remove this class. I don't really want that right now, so that should go back to the default there. Let's take a look to make sure. Okay, so we're back to that. So what I want to do is actually go to my style sheets, and in my typography styles, I'm just going to restyle my paragraph tag. And let's do the same thing for this. And let's say I want to make it font family. Let's see, Europa. And then another default will just be Arial. And then I'll have sans serif following that. So let's go ahead and see what that does. That should change the paragraphs to that particular font. If I refresh, Okay, great. So we've changed our body text to that now available web font. You can see anywhere that I've used a paragraph tag, it updates to that text accordingly. And then let's also get the headings as well. Let's use the same typeface for that. So I can style, maybe I want to get all of my headlines. Let's try to style all of those. And let's do font family, Europa, Arial, sans serif. Save that, go back and refresh. And now it looks like it did change, but this font is pretty thin. It's kind of mono weight. It's not really bold. So we need to figure out how to utilize something a little bit thicker for the headings or the H tags. So if I go into my typekit that I have open, let's see how I can get another version, another variation of that. And I'll go down, and it looks like I already have installed or available to us regular italic, bold, and bold italic. So let's click on using weights and styles. And this will give me a grid of all of the different weights that I have available to me, how I can style that, and then I can copy the CSS there. So if I want to, let's say we want to use bold italic. I've already set the font family, but let's set the font weight to 700 and then the style to italic. So I can go back to my code and type font weight, and I'll put it on 700. And then we said we want the font style to be italic, and I'll add that as well. And save, go back to my website and refresh. Now you can see that it is a little bit larger. It's bold, it's italic, and those stand out a little bit. Arguably, maybe I can make these an H4 or H3 if I wanted them to be a little bit larger overall. And that's going to be just kind of up to you and how you want to design this. So let's see what an H3 looks like. See if that still fits. So yeah, there you go. It added a little bit more space to the top, a little bit larger. So I can play around with this and kind of get this code to be where I want it to be. Maybe adjusting again some of the margins if I want to. I need a 5 in there. Okay, beautiful. So that's a really kind of quick example of how you can go through these different websites and find different font families to use. This is now the same family. I've got a couple different weights or variations of that typeface if I want to use that for more areas in my body text. So again, I'm not going crazy with these fonts. So far I've chosen 2. I have kind of a more stylized option here for the main headline and then something different for the body text. If I wanted to even get, maybe a little bit more contrast, maybe this isn't Europa, maybe this is the Bevan, and let's see what that looks like. Maybe now that's what I want, so it kind of matches the heading of that. I don't really want it italics. Maybe that's something that you do to kind of change the look of the website overall. But get in the habit of maybe browsing through this if you're looking for something that you want to be a little bit different or unique for maybe the display text or body text, and you might find that it's a really nice example to get some stylistic choices out there with your website typography that could also complement and work very well with any type of other medium that you're using for your text and brand, such as print or other multimedia devices. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you should have any questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.